Mohammed Al-Qasim is a senior journalist based in Jerusalem. He's now joining us live for an update on what happened today in the Knesset. Al-Qasim, welcome to the program. I'll begin by asking you, why do these changes matter?
Well, they matter more for the Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his right-wing hardline coalition. It matters to them because it takes away the authority and the power of the Supreme Court, and it puts it in the hands of the executive branch. It puts it in the hands of the Prime Minister as well as his coalition. And this matters because, as you just mentioned, the Prime Minister is facing several corruption cases in court, and this will help him not face jail time, but also it gives his constituency, his voting base, more rights. The far-right ultranationalists will have more say in what happens in the occupied West Bank in terms of continuing the expansion of Israeli settlements there, but also the religious sector in Israel will have more autonomy and authority over their education system, over their finances, and more. So this is something that will really weaken the Supreme Court here in Israel, takes away its ability to look at the decisions that are made by the executive branch, by the ministers, in terms of how reasonable are these laws once they are approved in the Knesset or the parliament, and they may strike them down. Now this has been taken away, and in fact, the executive branch or the coalition will become also the judicial system, so to speak. They will be the one deciding how reasonable these decisions that they're making for them to approve and go forward with it.
Maud, now that you've mentioned it, I want you to briefly explain to us and our viewers the reasonableness doctrine and the bone of contention with that bill.
Israel doesn't have a constitution. They have quasi-constitution or basic laws that it lives by. And since its founding, it's never had a constitution. And these basic laws that Israel lives by, it's what the Israeli society says it makes up the democracy here in Israel. And taking away the and in any liberal democracy, the Supreme Court is the last shield, the last defense for democracy. What the protesters and the opposition in Israel, and in fact, even the many members within the Supreme Court have said that taking away the authority of the Supreme Court to look at decisions made by the ministers within a government or a coalition government, right, and deciding whether they are reasonable and approve them to go forward with, or striking them down, saying that those are unreasonable decisions, has been taken away from them. It puts the decision-making in the hands of the ministers who are serving in the government, and then deeming the Supreme Court as either irrelevant or greatly weakened, making the checks and balances within the government, the judicial branch, the executive branch, and the legislative branch, mainly in the executive branch and in a parliamentary system also in the legislative branch. Here in Israel, whomever has the majority in the parliament is also controlling the government, and then the decision-making will be centered, the power will be centered in these two entities, leaving the Supreme Court kind of out of the governing part in Israel.
All right, I understand that. Finally, Al-Qasim, and I want your quick reaction to this one. Critics have openly stated that court challenges, protests, and even a potential constitutional crisis will come next. Do you foresee that? And what challenge will that pose for Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's government and its tenure?
A great challenge because the image of Israel has been shaken internationally and even domestically. There will be moves to go to the Supreme Court as soon as tomorrow morning. There is an NGO, a group, the movement for Quality Government is planning on taking going to the Supreme Court tomorrow in order to block this law. Already, the Bar Association has petitioned the Supreme Court to block this law on the ground that it goes against Israel's democracy and the founding of Israel. There will be many challenges. The opposition also planning to go to the Supreme Court, and the opposition and the hundreds of thousands of protesters have promised and pledged to continue taking to the streets and maybe even going on strikes and diversifying their opposition and tactics to stop this law and to continue its protest against the government.
All right, I've been talking to senior journalist Maud Al-Qasem. Maud, thank you very much for all your inputs and for talking to WION World is One today.
Thank you.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.